Okay, so this is Onyx, and what we're going to be working on today with him is helping him not to bark at guests or when the baby's crying, or not crying, but when their parents are giving the baby attention, things like that. So what he's essentially learned, and he's a smart boy, is that if he barks, he gets the attention, even if it's something like, oh, stop barking, don't do this, don't do that. Even eye contact alone is enough to keep a dog barking. We call this demand barking because he's demanding your attention. He's trying to pull your attention away from whatever else you're doing and put it directly on him. So we want to reverse that. In the beginning, this is going to try your patience. I know it will, because he's going to bark more. Don't be surprised if he does bark even more over the next couple of days, because in the past, this method has worked for him. So instead of immediately abandoning his method that's worked for so many years, he's going to keep being persistent, and he's probably going to try harder and last longer doing this until he does realize, okay, they're following through, they're sticking through this. So consistency and follow through are essential. If you start to look at him halfway in him barking and he's been barking for 10 minutes and you look at him or say no because you're aggravated, you've essentially taught him to bark for at least 10 minutes, if not longer. So following through, making sure that you do that is essential. What the other parts that you can do is, if you can't just ignore him, you can walk out of the room. So you're also teaching him that his barking equals two different things from you now. It used to mean I get attention, but now it means he's being ignored, or even worse, you leave the room, which is still being ignored, but it's even harder for dogs because they don't want to be left alone. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk outside. I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds, then I'm gonna walk right back in. If he starts barking, which I'm assuming he will, I'm going to ignore his behavior. And then if he continues to keep barking and barking and barking and he doesn't show signs of stopping, then I'm gonna walk out of the room and wait for him to calm down. Now, importantly, I'm giving these instructions ahead of time because it's hard to hear when a dog's barking. If he's still barking when I'm in the other room, I have to stay in that room until he's quiet. If I walk out and he immediately starts barking again, say I open the door, he barks, close the door again. Because he just needs to learn through timing what his barking equals out to be. So the better your timing is, the quicker he's going to learn. So if he barks and you go to open the door and you close it immediately, he's gonna go, oh, then I barked, that caused you to shut the door again. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start with this. Oops, okay, Onyx, there you go. So we're not barking yet, which is good. Not as good for the video, but he's starting to get excited. So what I would call this is an intermediary kind of position. Notice how he's getting excited. He's running around, being anxious, but not barking immediately. This is the kind of progress we would expect to be seeing. And then these are much more short-hearted, half-hearted attempts of barking. You heard him kind of making those howly bark noises. The first time I walked through the door, he was barking quite a bit, excessively. Didn't stop for probably about 10 to 15 minutes, and he was barking straight. So this is only the second time we worked through this, but you can see kind of how the progress is working. Still, we don't want to give him attention immediately. So why don't you just kind of come back over? I'm going to sit down, kind of go back to where we were. If we give him attention immediately after he stops barking, he's going to learn that barking, he can bark, 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 stop barking, and then he'll get attention. So he should start barking, then when he's done barking, then he'll get attention. So to stop that, what we want to do is wait for him to have stopped barking long enough, like now, that we are giving him his attention, so he's learning that being calm and good is what's going to get him attention. He's smart, and we've been practicing a little bit, so he's catching on pretty quickly that this type of behavior is exactly what equals him getting good attention. So I want you to do this when you guys can practice with different triggers. Think about different triggers that will get him to bark, so practice this actively. And then when guests come over, show them this video if you can, so they can kind of understand what to do. Remember, even eye contact alone, this is important, is enough to get him to keep barking. And you don't want to pet him immediately after he stops. Wait at least 30 seconds to a minute before you start to engage him. Okay?